This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Precisely 1:15 p.m. is the time. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that it is the responsibility of the government to develop the Madhu Church while safeguarding it. The initial discussion has commenced to start a project to set up solar panels on the Punarin tank. An express train service between Talaimannar and Colombo will begin from the 15th of September. The Prime Minister is on a 4-day official visit to China. Proposal on compensation for crop damages to be presented to the Cabinet. Trump and 18 others charged in Georgia election inquiry. The local stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that it is the responsibility of the government to develop the Madhu Church while safeguarding it. Madhu is an indigenous religious festival. Therefore, it can be considered as a national event. The government, therefore, will assist the church to develop the historic place of worship, he assured. He made these remarks while participating at the annual feast of Madhu Church. The President also thanked for all dedicated to make this annual festival a success. The government has paid attention to make use of the sunlight, wind and trees in the Punarin area. Therefore, the initial discussions to start a project to set up solar panels on the Punarin tank has commenced. The north will be a centre of power supply by 2040, he added. The President also said that necessary advice has been given to the relevant officials to look into the electricity generating activities in this area. The President also revealed that the government has approved the setting up of a sugar factory in Vanni. The President also reiterated that an express train service between Talaimannar and Colombo will begin from the 15th of September. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, who is on a 4-day official visit to China, has arrived in Kunming International Airport this morning. He departed from Colombo last evening to begin his visit to China's Yunnan province, the Prime Minister's office said in a statement. Upon his arrival at the airport, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister was accorded a warm welcome by Vice Chairman of the CPPCC Yunnan Provincial Committee Zhao Jin, Protocol Chief and other senior officials and charged the affairs at the Sri Lanka Embassy, KK Yoganathan, and other officials of the mission. He will be the chief guest at the 7th China South Asia Expo and the 27th China Kunming Import and Export Exhibition, jointly hosted by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce and the Yunnan Provincial Government. The expo, themed Solidarity and Coordination for Common Development, will be held from tomorrow to the 20th of this month in Kunming, China. The Disaster Management Centre says that 13 districts have been affected severely by the dry weather situation. The mostly affected areas have been identified as Sabragamur, East, North Western, North and Uva provinces. Therefore, 52,402 families have been affected by the dried-up weather. Measures have been taken to provide concessions for them. Meanwhile, the Electricity Board said that the 2 electricity generation machines at the Samanalavawa power plant have been used for electricity generation. 60 megawatts of electricity capacity will be generated. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
Continuing with the local stories, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera says that the proposal seeking to pay compensation for cultivation damages that occurred due to the prevailing drought condition will be presented to the Cabinet of Ministers next week. The minister pointed out that he verbally presented facts regarding the matter to the Cabinet on Monday. Furthermore, he emphasized that the government expects to provide compensation for the cultivation of lands which are entirely and partially damaged due to the prevailing dry weather conditions. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that a joint strategic communication program will be implemented to promote national intention and international image. This program will be initiated by the Ministries of Media and Foreign Affairs. Participating in the Cabinet decision meeting, the State Minister said the Cabinet approval has been received to the Cabinet paper submitted by the Foreign Minister Ali Sabri in this regard. The image of the country had been collapsed internationally due to various reasons during the past period. Therefore, it is hoped to implement this program to build a clear image in foreign countries. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that it is the responsibility of the government to develop the Madhu Church while safeguarding it. The initial discussion has commenced to start a project to set up solar panels on the Punarin tank. An express train service between Talaimannar and Colombo will begin from the 15th of September. The Prime Minister is on a 4-day official visit to China. Proposal on compensation for crop damages to be presented to the Cabinet. That ends the local news for now.
Listen, no fake news, false flags, it is the real thing. Breaking records, making history, you know we got the big bling. 10 billion bonus all across the island. Ka-ching! Not millions, talking billions, yeah, it is the big win.
History's highest ever sure bonus declaration for SLIC life policyholders in 2022 exceeds 10 billion rupees.
10 billion bonus gonna make your dreams come true. 10 billion bonus for you.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Taking a look at the main news story, Minister Roshan Ranasinghe says that the obstacle to supply water needed for the paddy cultivation in the Anuradhapura district has been ended. There is a possibility to supply water to the cultivated paddy lands under the Kalavava and Kandalama movements. There are 61% water capacity in the 50% at the Parakrama Samudra and 20% water capacity at the Kalavava. Therefore, there is a possibility to complete the paddy cultivation in the Yala season without any problem. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
And taking a look at Watch Light, either sides of the road from Rottawala Junction to Samadhigama in Ambalantota Nonagama main road is covered with weedy plants. This has been caused difficult for transportation activities and for the people who use this road. It has been requested to clean this road as soon as possible. This is for the attention of the Ambalantota Pradeshya Sabha. That ends Watch Light.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on to the world news, the headlines. Trump and 18 others charged in Georgia election inquiry. Hawaii wildfires, crew may find 10 to 20 wildfire victims a day. Governor. China halts youth jobless data as economy falters. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been charged with attempting to overturn his 2020 election loss in the state of Georgia. He and 18 others have been indicted on counts that include racketeering in a 41-charge document issued by a Fulton County grand jury. The indictment marks the fourth time Mr. Trump has been criminally charged this year. He has denied the accusations in all cases. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis launched an investigation in February 2021 into allegations of election meddling against Mr. Trump and his associates. Recovery crews combing through charred homes and vehicles in Hawaii are likely to find 10 to 20 more victims per day, the governor has warned. The death toll from the fire now stands at 99, making the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century. Governor Josh Green told CBS News it could take up to 10 days to learn the full death toll. The number of missing now stands at around 1,300, he said. He later told a press conference that 25% of the area affected by the fire had been searched for bodies. China has stopped releasing youth unemployment figures, which were seen by some as a key indication of the country's slowdown. The decision is due to changes in the world's second-largest economy and its society, a government spokesman said. In June, China's jobless rate for 16 to 24-year-olds in urban areas hit a record high of more than 20%. The country's central bank also cut the cost of borrowing on Tuesday in an attempt to help boost growth. Official figures published on Tuesday showed China's overall unemployment rate had risen to 5.3% in July. And to conclude the world news, the headlines again. Trump and 18 others charged in Georgia election inquiry. Hawaii wildfires. Crew may find 10 to 20 wildfire victims a day, says governor. China halts youth jobless data as economy falters. That ends the world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities from Deshak Sri Lanka in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, including company housemaid, salary 156,000 rupees, 23 to 57 years. Contact 037 7500 500.
And on development news, the government has implemented a program to provide solar power electricity to the 25,000 houses of low-income families. $650 million has been invested for the project. Out of this amount, $40 million will be utilized for local supplies of the project. 11,000 such houses have already been identified for this concession. That ends the development news.
Job opportunities for women from Deshak Sri Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Company housemaids, caretakers and home cooks in Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can now travel overseas free of charge. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500. Deshak Sri Lanka Foreign Development Agency.
Taking a look at the sports news, Sri Lanka's Wanindu Hasaranga, one of the finest wrist spinners in the world, has announced his retirement from international test cricket. In a letter reportedly addressed to the Sri Lanka cricket, Hasaranga cited his desire to focus on limited overs cricket and contribute his best to the national team. Hasaranga is also part of a number of T20 franchises across the world, and with the rapid growth of franchise cricket, the Sri Lankan spinner has decided to retire from Test cricket. He has taken this decision to prolong his limited overs career. He has reportedly highlighted that his aim to prolong his career as a specialist in limited overs formats and hopes to serve the nation to the best of his abilities. That ends Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දඟපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
On business news, Sittam, the island-wide children's art competition conducted by the Commercial Bank of Ceylon, has been launched for the fourth year, and the bank has announced it is opening the competition to Sri Lankan children currently living overseas, a new category. Exclusively for children between the ages of 4 and 16, the competition is hosted under the banner of the bank's popular children's savings account Arunalu and will be conducted online this year for the third time, the bank said. That ends the business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගින හැබැ කරන්න නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And on economic news, the Cabinet-appointed Negotiation Committee, CANC, on behalf of Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Private Limited, has invited proposals for construction of multi-storey car park and commercial space, including a hotel at Bandaranayake International Airport, Katunayake. That ends the economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, we take a look at the weather report. Except for a few showers in western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Galle and Matra districts, mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 km per hour, can be expected at times in western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces, and in Trincomalee, Hambantota and Monaragala districts. That ends the weather report. And to conclude this bulletin of news, we take a look at the headlines again. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that it is the responsibility of the government to develop the Madhu Church while safeguarding it. The initial discussion has commenced to start a project to set up solar panels on the Punarin tank. An express train service between Tadaimannar and Colombo will begin from the 15th of September. The Prime Minister is on a 4-day official visit to China. Proposal on compensation for crop damages to be presented to the Cabinet. Trump and 18 others charged in Georgia election inquiry. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.